Local content is a term that has gained added significance since the advent of oil and gas in Ghana. In this episode of the Ghana Business Report, we look at local content within this new industry. There are obvious opportunities for Ghanaians in the oil and gas industry, but nothing is going to happen unless government takes it seriously.
We are making it sound as if we've not looked at these things before, but we've always done that in our natural resource sector. We've always tried to do local content. And so the question is, after 100 years of mining gold in Ghana, what local content have you managed to develop? What industries have been built in Ghana that you can point to and say, oh, for this particular company, if it wasn't for gold, this country wouldn't have had that. Look at fisheries, where we've had a content policy, local content policy for a very long time. How many Ghanaian commercial fishermen do you know? Very few. So when you think of those kind of things, you begin to wonder whether we have developed any track record at all in doing local content right. The answer obviously have to be no. We haven't shown it.
When oil was discovered in 2007, expectations for local participation in the industry were high. Because of the lack of local expertise, foreign companies were brought in to develop and exploit the oil, but government was quick to announce that by 2020, 90% of all people involved in the industry would be Ghanaian. And they set about drafting a new local content policy to make good on their promise. A waste of time, says policy analyst Bright Simmons.
Every time we want to pretend as if we are starting afresh. That's our big challenge. You've got a lot of history to guide you. You've got gold, you've got salt, you've got fisheries, you've got petroleum in the 70s, you've got petroleum in the 80s under GNPC and the trading activities that they undertook, some of which ended up in losses, some of them we learned from. You've got a whole bunch of history to learn from.
According to Deputy Minister of Energy, Emmanuel Boah, the old local content law covering activities such as mining is hopelessly inadequate.
When we discovered oil, we realized that we needed to make it more strong. If you look at the penalties in this law, it's a joke. Okay? So there was the need to strengthen it. There was the need to make sure there's an implementation strategy, a local content supervisory committee. That's why the law needed to be reviewed.
We're going to sit in air conditioning rooms, bringing consultants from here and there. No way this, no way that, Trinidad and Tobago this. Then we design a policy in the abstract. But then we think how to implement it. No. Start implementing things. Do something. Do small things. Learn. Make mistakes. Then out of that, say, what have I learned across all these things I've done and what other people have done? Here is now the policy. We don't do things that way. So to give you an example, now you are designing a local content policy. You know that small and medium enterprises are the way to go. How you integrate small and medium enterprises into the value chain is what will ensure the success of your local content policy. You know that. The problem is that you don't even have a small and medium enterprise database. But you have a local content policy already. You are now developing an SME policy to anchor it. But the important things on the ground haven't happened. All you have are static laws on static books.
Integrating the private sector into the process is essential, says Nana Osei-Bonsu of the Private Enterprise Foundation.
We don't want consultation. We want participation, working step by step in developing the framework. So when you go and put the framework together and consult in a one-day workshop, our input is not enough. But when we're working together on a daily basis, I think the private sector can influence the kind of legislation framework that would drive the industry.
Get the private sector to start doing things together, run programs together, join public-private ventures. Let's even say, okay, for this particular input, we are going to build this thing here. We are going to support this guy here. We're going to let him get an IFC loan. We're going to supply this input to the industry. We're going to work for 1 year and see how it evolves. And then through that insight, develop wider policy.
The private sector of Ghana is unique in doing business. And sometimes when you bring foreigners to drive the framework, it becomes very difficult to implement.
The minister is not going to have as much insight as the local business people. So you have a situation where the development of the policy is being led by technocrats and bureaucrats. And they expect that 2 years from now, the private sector will come and tap onto it. It's a joke.
5 years after the discovery of oil, there is little evidence of any meaningful local participation in the industry. In October last year, the Minister of Energy himself admitted that the fast tracking of oil production has made the local content policy unworkable.
As Ghanaians, we must always level with ourselves. First, it began when we discovered the oil. When we discovered oil, we sat down, we looked at our situation and said, we can't wait for 7 years. Ideally, if you discover you wait for 7 years, you plan. make sure you have a fabrication yard, make sure you have a port, make sure you have all the infrastructure in place, make sure you have the things that you can say from the one that isn't.
Shouldn't we have done that?
Well, we've made a decision. Americans have a name, we call it. I do not believe in Monday morning quarterbacking. We made a decision. The government of the day in 2007 made a decision that we're going to fast track oil production in 2 years. And I think it was made in good faith.
Made in good faith, perhaps, but a risky decision.
We're producing the oil without making sure that the capacity to ensure that we take advantage of the industry is in place. The excuse, the reason why we brought everybody from outside is because, one, in this industry, high technology, critical technology, in this industry, higher scale, in this industry, huge money. 3 critical things. These are the things that we need to have. Making sure that we equip our people, our institutions, building the capacity to produce the high-skilled manpower needed in this industry.
And the local content law is the vehicle to deliver it.
For example, under the law, there will be a local content committee where if we set a benchmark, there will be a scheduling, there will be implementation strategy. We say, you are your company, we expect you to have 80% of your engineers as Ghanaians in 3 years. These are your benchmarks. We want the supply of this product to be Ghanaian oriented, Ghanaian content. We are going to monitor it. If we do not see that next year, we say 60% by next year. If we come and we realize that you have not reached that 60%, you know what? We can revoke your license.
Fine words, but that's all they are. Because 5 years down the line, the much vaunted local content policy has still not been passed into law, and none of its provisions can be enforced. Worse still, little has been done to build local capacity, and Ghanaian companies languish on the sidelines as key players in the sector engage foreign firms to ensure service delivery. Whether local companies can reclaim this territory once the law has been passed remains to be seen. The skeptics amongst us say no. But the Honorable Emmanuel Boah seems unfazed. We may have missed the boat with oil, but there are more meaningful things on the horizon, he says. Gas.
We believe this oil discovery, of all the excitement, it is the gas that we must be so excited about. You know, Jubilee, FPSO, you asked the question, how many people are on the FPSO? You know, every day, young men are coming in and want a job on the FPSO. The FPSO cannot employ more than 200 people, even the ancillary. But there's the need to create a lot of jobs around this. And we believe this gas project is the foundation to create this quantum leap.
The plan is to utilize the gas from the oil field to generate much needed power. To do this, an undersea pipeline will be built from the offshore FPSO to an onshore gas processing plant near Axim. A 120-kilometer land-based pipeline will then feed this gas to the thermal plant at Abuadze, which will feed power into the national grid. A second pipeline to Prestea will provide power to feed the mines.
A lot of the industries that have collapsed in this country, Abosu Glass Factory, others, it's because of power. The rubber plant, it's because of power. It's too expensive to use thermal plants to get enough power. It's too expensive. No big investor will come and do that. But if you can use gas to produce cheap power, all these industries will come because they know that the source of power will be in place. Now, once we get gas, you will see how many thermal plants are coming in. They will set up because there's the assurance that there will be power, cheap power. Cheap power translates into big industries. Big industry translates into big jobs. We believe strongly that this gas is a key to our industrial development. This is why the president has formed the Ghana Gas Company, dedicated to own and manage and develop that gas infrastructure.
And we as a company, the Ghana National Gas Company, are determined to ensure that there is a considerable amount of Ghanaians or local content involved in the gas industry.
But as the Ghana National Gas Company's Dr. George Sipayanki himself admits, the issue of local capacity raises its ugly head once again.
Let's face it, I don't think there's any company in Ghana that can really build the pipes, manufacture the pipes, build the gas processing plant, and so on and so forth.
And the contract has been awarded to Sinopec of China.
It's the biggest gas and oil company in China. It's, if you look at the global Fortune 500, the list of the best 500 companies in the world, they come number 5.
So where then do Ghanaians fit into the picture?
There are going to be a lot of Ghanaian companies involved. In a lot of the subcontracts, remember, we've already selected the EPC contractor, and they are required to make sure they subcontract in some of the jobs. Ghanaian companies are of critical importance going to be part.
In terms of the agreement between government and Sinopec, Sinopec has been granted a 60% labor and goods and services quota, leaving 40% in the balance.
40% of goods and services, according to the loan agreement, is going to come from outside China. So Ghanaian companies will be involved in the construction activities. Ghanaian companies will be involved in providing certain supplies. But you see, our level of development itself will limit how much we can supply.
As with oil, so with gas. Once again, foreigners will be brought in to fill the gaps because the industry is going ahead before local companies have the capacity to participate meaningfully.
The majority of our SMEs are not adequately resourced to be able to take advantage. And that is where we need a lot of training, a lot of hand-holding. Training them what to do, respect of contract, timeliness, product quality, and all those things we have to do. The fact that they don't know today doesn't mean that we should neglect and bring foreigners. They don't know today, but we can educate them. They are business people. They want money. They want profits. And they will learn quickly if given the opportunity.
We need to help these companies grow. You know, the government must make it a policy to pick and select and choose some companies and support them. Because the gas industry has come to stay. And it's the gas industry which is going to really propel this country's growth. No other sector.
That's how China has been quite successful. China has not been successful because it's a communist country. It's successful because the way that the state has used its power has boosted the productivity of the private sector.
So we need the state to do things here.
Yes, I mean, but the state should do things that boost the productivity of the private sector rather than clamp it down and rather than pretend that it has a clue when it doesn't have a clue. So what we see that the Chinese all the time trying to see whether they can use lending mechanisms, whether they can use capacity building mechanisms to directly engage. We are not directly engaging, are we?
I am not of the school that government has to do everything for the private sector. I'm of the school that the private sector itself has to grow and develop itself into, I always say, don't ask the government to do for you what you can do for yourself. And the point is that the private sector has to wake up because government programs cannot wait. And what is happening is government they take the programs and then foreigners come to take advantage and we sit idle and hold it back. So we have to grow and take advantage of government opportunities that are being created by the public sector to be able to enrich ourselves to a level where we become competitive with the foreign private sector.
This is an interesting resource. It's new wealth. But is it? The way to prove that it's new wealth is to see how more Ghanaians benefit. So if a group of foreigners are just going to come to Ghana and benefit and go away, then why should we worry at all about the impact of the government on our governance, the impact on the economy, etc., if you are not benefiting? So the big thing around it is fairness, equity, sovereignty. Is it ours?
We can argue about quotas, local participation, and sovereignty all we like, but it's purely academic. It's the same old story. The local content bill has still not been passed, and therefore nothing is enforceable under the law.
For now, I think there's a goodwill and people are disciplined and things are moving very well. But without the law, when somebody goes astray or aberrates from what you and I consider to be norm and to be principled sort of position, there's nothing to enforce and bring these guys to book. So we need the law so that at least the law will then, if it's codified, the rules are codified, one can predict one's rights, one's obligations. One can predict what penalty will befall you if you do not follow the laws. But as it is now, government can choose to, or whoever is in charge can choose to apply the rules as and how it deems right or it deems fit. The government has to catch up because this law is delaying unduly. I don't see why Parliament cannot take a week of its sittings to deal with this law once and for all.
But however urgent it may be to have the policy passed into law, The problem isn't yet solved, says Dr. Yankee.
Even when it is passed and we do not build the foundation, we can't build the house. And the foundation is the skills acquisition.
So back to square one. Forget about SMEs. What is government doing to equip its people, its artisans, for this new industry? We went to the Takoradi Polytechnic at the heart of the nascent industry, where we spoke to its rector, Professor Nyako.
Currently, we have UMAT, University of Mines and Technology, embarking on a petroleum engineering program to train the top echelon in the petroleum industry. We are going to train the technicians, and by these I mean those who are going to man the pipelines, the instrumentation control people, process engineering people, the boiler attendants, the welders, people who can even go undersea to weld.
Sounds good, but despite the fact that the gas plant goes into construction within the next few months, training hasn't started yet. It's because of lack of funding, says the rector. Specialist training requires specialized equipment, and the Institute's outdated workshops aren't up to the task. It took the Jubilee Partnership, Tullow, Cosmos and Anadako to finally step in and donate $4.7 million to kickstart the program.
They are setting up a new building block which will be equipped specifically for the training of the middle level manpower that we need for the industry. And the project is already ongoing.
The facility is being funded by the industry. So the question is, where is government putting its money? Into places like this. Gratis trains metal workers and is funded by the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Its obsolete machines speak volumes, and workshop manager John Nami is a frustrated man.
We want people to be trained in the oil and gas industry, but we've not laid the foundation for training. You need to lay a foundation. Find out what are the requirements. The oil and gas, what do they need? Then when you understand what they need, then you prepare yourself to meet those requirements. But we just jump in, start training without knowing the requirements.
This aside, it's all happening too late, he says.
As soon as we knew there was going to be oil and gas, that was the time we should have laid the foundation. So that by this time, we would have turned out people who would be prepared for it. But we didn't. We waited until the thing took off before we start looking at what we should do. And they will not wait for you to do whatever you're going to do whilst operation is going on. So that is a basic problem.
Head of Welding and Fabrication, Eric Oredu.
Test our boys. Oh, they are true. They will perform, and you see that you need their service, and you give them the job. So Ghana has that this thing. It's not a matter of bringing Chinese people to come and take their money away. No, no, no.
Locals are anxious to get jobs. Look, you meet youth. They don't even know where to go for training. They are prepared for the training. They don't know where to go for the training. And if they even have the means of training, no funding for them. And so eventually they will end up venting their anger on the oil companies. And this is a serious danger.
But the oil companies aren't to blame, says Ato Vaness of the Takoradi Chamber of Commerce.
You know, they are not in the business to educate. They are in the business to take oil and work on the oil. But it's also in their interest to ensure that they can get as much local content as possible, because it saves them cost. But you know, when you look at the opportunity cost, the time that I will need to train you to be able to fit, I might as well go and bring a foreigner. So you have to make sure that you fit or you get the requisite qualification. Then the man has no business not taking you. Then it becomes his interest to take you.
In the absence of government training programs, dozens of private sector institutions have sprung up to fill the void. Accredited by City and Guilds, Ato Vaness runs a training program for maintenance technicians for the oil and gas industry. But he has no government support, and lack of resources means that he can train no more than 40 people every 6 months.
It's really insignificant, but we have to start from somewhere.
In Sekondi, in an area known as Location, we found another private initiative, Sigma One, run by Ebo Ferguson. Anticipating the new industry's need for artisans, he opened shop 2 years ago and has trained 2,000 people to date.
Government is going to build gas processing plant. They will need about 5,000 skilled workers to work with. They are not training anybody, but they go about telling the whole Ghana that Ghanaians
are not many. Therefore, they have even signed 60% of that kind of thing to labor that is so essential to us, to Chinese people. Let them, the experts come and then be at the top, then we give the necessary support. You know, we have gotten this new industry, oil and gas, and therefore we quickly assume that it's too alien to us, we can't work there. Although it is new to Ghana, but it's not new to a lot of people, a lot of Ghanaians, because a lot of Ghanaians have been outside Ghana who have worked in the industry or been associated in the industry. So these are the people who have come home to come and help train our people in the various skills that are needed. We have had people who are working at Bridam with the same Chinese that we are making as if they dropped from heaven. My girls and boys are working with them as I'm talking right now. In the power plant Abadi here, some of my girls are working there. We have some working in the mines, trained here, and working in the mines. But you see, as I always say, too much talk. Go tell government that they are overdue to give us that gas. That is where it starts. We can learn, David, let them open the doors and stop closing these doors on us. If they don't open, one day we'll bank and open the thing ourselves and get in there. Tell Ghana, we are entitled to it. The oil is our own. The money is theirs, but the resources are our own. They did it to us at the mines, and this one we are not allowing it. Yes, sir. Yes,
sir. Expectations remain high, but it's hard to see how they're going to be met, and that's worrying. The sooner the government comes out with a clear and achievable local content policy, the better. Oil and gas is not going to be a blessing by accident.